All right, this is 6 for example 3. This is when the denominator has repeated linear factors. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the example 3 from the book. We have negative x squared minus 3x minus 8 over x to the third plus 4x squared plus 4x. So the first thing is to see if it's improper, and it's not. The degree is higher on the bottom. So that means you can just go ahead to step 1, which is factorizing the bottom. So the first thing I notice is that this has a common factor of x. And when I pull that out, I'm going to be left with x squared plus 4x plus 4. And that can still be factorized further. This is the same as, let's see, I need two things that multiply to 4 and add up to 4. So it's going to be 2 and 2. So x plus 2 and x plus 2. And we can all agree that this is one way of writing it, or you could write it like this. Okay? So the idea here is that you have repeated linear factors in the denominator. So right here is a repeated factor. Now, when that happens, it means that you're going to have extra fractions, basically. So you still need one for each idea, but it's going to be a little bit different. The x will still be by itself. Then this x plus 2, you need to account for all the powers of x plus 2 up to the highest power. So you need to have an x plus 2 to the first power, and then you have to also have an x plus 2 to the second power. So whenever you have something repeated, you just need first power and then second power. If it was to the third, you would need another one for the third power, and so on. However many times it's repeated, you need one for each power leading up to the highest power. In terms of the top, you're going to do the same thing we've been doing, which is ABC. And then from there, you're still going to multiply by the least common denominator. And what's going to happen is on this side, the whole denominator is going to cancel. So on this side, I'm just going to be left with negative x squared minus 3x minus 8. This side I have to be careful. If I multiply this times this one, the x's will cancel, and I'll still have a times this. If I multiply this one times this one of the x plus 2's will cancel, but I'll still be left with an x and another x plus 2. So I'll have b, I'll have x, and I'll have one x plus 2 that didn't cancel. C, the x plus 2 squared will cancel with the x plus 2 squared, so I'll just have cx. From there, we know that I need to expand this side. So x plus 2 squared, please just be careful. I'm worried that girls will write x squared and 4 squared, but remember this is the same as x plus 2 times x plus 2. And you can go ahead and expand. You might also notice you already have it expanded right here. So x times x gives you x squared. In the middle, you'll get 2x and 2x, which will be 4x, and then 4. Okay, so I have a, and then I've got this. X squared plus 4x plus 4. This one I need to be careful. I'm doing bx times both things. So bx times x will be bx squared, and then 2bx. And then cx. So I'm going to keep expanding this one, ax squared plus 4ax plus 4a plus bx squared plus 2bx plus cx. Okay? So go ahead and put all your x squareds first. So ax squared, bx squared. Then put all your x's. So I've got plus 4ax plus 2bx plus cx. And then anything without a letter, which is going to be 4a. Factor out your x's. So in this case, I'm going to have a plus b, and then x squared. This one, I'm going to have 4a, 2b, and c. And x. And then last but not least, I have plus 4a. So notice this big long thing equals this one, so I'll just go ahead and rewrite that over here. Okay, so again, whatever's in front of x squared equals a plus b. So that means in this case, a plus b has to equal -1. Because what's in front of x squared here is -1. This whole thing has to equal -3. So 4a plus 2b plus c equals -3. And then last but not least, 4a has to equal -8. Obviously you have options. This one in my mind you could solve. Not too difficult to solve for a here by just dividing. And then once you know a here, you can plug it in. So let's go ahead and just do that. The other option is to use your calculator, mode 5. And then since this is a system of 3 equations, you would want to pick number, let me see, mode 5, and it would be number 2. But you have to make sure you put in all the zeros. So anyway, let's just divide by 4 here. So if I do that, I know that a equals -2. So if a equals -2, then b would have to equal 1, because -2 plus 1 would give me -1. Now that I know all that, I can plug in what I know here, and it means I've got 4 times -2 plus 2 times 1 plus c equals -3. So let's do the math here. This will be -8 plus 2, so that'll be -6. -6, if I add it to the other side, will be +3. So c would have to be 3. So for your final answer, remember getting A, B, and C is good, but really you need to write it in the same format as your starting question. So what you should do is rewrite the question and then write your A, B, C over the fraction. So let's do that. So my original problem, -x squared minus 3x minus 8 over x to the third plus 4x squared plus 4x equals a over x, so that'll be -2, plus b over x plus 2, so b is 1, and then c over x plus 2 squared, so there's that. And that's what your final answer should look like.